So many of us are claiming to be happy. So many of us are claiming to be fulfilled, to feel amazing. And here is my question, because this was me from years ago. And the truth of the matter is, if you're so happy, why do you care so much about what people think? If you're so happy, how come you're self abandoning what you really want for what other people want? How come you're walking on eggshells? How come you don't even know what you want? Because that's the truth. The truth of the matter is, I came from this like lone wolf and I've got this and shutting away, emotions and vulnerability and all these things and intuition along with that. And stepping into this like, oh, I feel good and I'm, in control and, I have the best relationship from everyone around me and I have this perfect picture family and seemingly everything in my life is great and it only takes one big catalyst for life to kind of like just take the rug from under me. And that was the passing away of my father. That was a really important figure in my life for my whole life to collapse. And it didn't collapse right away. I was like, no, that's fine. Okay. So like a person died, we move on, we're good. And there's this like, I've got this, I've got life until, the realization like, oh, wait a second, I don't. And so many of us are there chasing, like, no, I'm successful and I've got this and I'm good, while at the same time feeling so freaking empty and deprived. And most importantly, not being connected to and just not even knowing, like, what do I want? Who am I? And that's really what the question is. And this is the invitation of this full moon that we have tomorrow. Who am I? Like, who am I when I drop the masks? Who am I when I drop the persona? And by the way, in the description, there's a free gift there, a meditation that helped me so much. And I had to go through depression to get to that question or to get to that question and answer. Wow, what is the me that remains when I drop the masks? When I drop the masks of the parent or the child or this employee or the partner or, wife, husband, whatever. What happens and who remains as those masks are dropped? And the problem becomes that the suffering, the struggle, the anxiety, the burnouts, they happen because we identify so dearly. Like we fight for our dear life to be seen as, let's say, a good partner, an accomplished parent, a successful, I don't know, businessman, businesswoman, right? An employee or an entrepreneur. And we're so desperately chasing after that because we think that we are that. We put all of what we are into a particular teeny tiny box, and you're so much more than that. And one of the traps that the clients that I work with one on one fall into is that we try to live up to these expectations. First of all, we're trying to, okay, I've got this. Like, when will I be happy? When this persona is exactly this way and it's there and stagnant and doesn't change, then I'm happy. Then I'll be accomplished. But the truth is that it can't happen. It will never happen because nothing in life is stagnant because everything's always changing. Everything is shifting. That is energy. Whatever you see that looks solid, it actually isn't solid. It's moving. Your cells right here, they're multiplying. It seems solid, it isn't. And so stepping back, and I love how I actually did that with my body, like stepping back into the observer. And what happens, like looking at your life from this observer seat. This is what we did today in a meditation that I do every Tuesday mornings. When we step back and we can actually look at our life. And that is the first step. There comes the second step. And I'm going to get into how to utilize these particular full moon energies because they have a powerful invitation. But what happens when we step back, we can see our life, right? And that's the first stage. And we can actually be present with and like, oh, I can choose. Like from this distance, I can choose, right? It's like when you're in the forest, you can't see the forest. But when you step away, you're like, oh, okay, that's a forest. And I'm not so lost amongst the trees. So when we step away, we have this bird's eye view, we can actually make decisions that serve us. Right? This is the importance of mindfulness. It's the importance of meditation, of quieting your mind, of being present, coming into presence, because your power is only in the present moment. Those things that you're overthinking, analyzing, oh, maybe it would have been different, it could have been, should have been. It's in the past. It doesn't actually exist. It doesn't actually exist. The same situation, the way you recall it and someone else recalls it, both people who were there in that moment, very different stories. So who's to say what is real, what isn't? You can't. At this point, nothing is real from the past. The future has not yet been created. So right now is real. Wherever your mind is taking you, past, future, possibilities, regrets, none of those are real. And yet we follow and we get lost and we don't live our lives that are right here, right now. So the first stage is usually, creating that distance to see the ego, to see our inner critic, to listen to observe, to witness. Now, what we did today in the meditation was going to the second step. Just like you're grounded, you're centered, you understand your field, where it ends and the world begins. And as you come into this room as an independent being, you can feel the room without being lost in it. So you can feel the energies. You're not taking it in as, maybe there's a conversation of people that are like really anxious. So you're not coming into the room like, oh my God, I'm feeling anxious too. You're just feeling that energy. Okay, there's anxiety here in this room without getting lost in it. And for that, you have to train that muscle of just presence. What does groundedness in the present moment feel like in your body to your nervous system, right? And it's really about the physical body, the mental, spiritual, emotional bodies. And so the first point is just becoming aware and reading the room. The second part is learning how to write the room, understanding that you are not a victim of circumstance, that you get to come in and similarly as previously, before you learn how to be grounded, those energies were affecting you, you get to affect it because you're sourcing from that life source consciousness, because you are that light, that embodiment of those energies. So let's say if you want confidence, you get to bring that to the room. Let's say you're having a conversation at work, right? And people aren't making a decision, they're all over the place. You get to create an energetic of decisiveness, of moving forward, of direction, of decision into this meeting that you're coming into, because you get to write the room. And this is the invitation right now with this full moon. Where is it, and there are particular practices, but where is it that, first of all, we're coming into not observing, getting lost, right? It's like, oh, well, no, I'm happy. My life is good. My life is happy. And at the same time, realizing, wait a second, I'm walking on eggshells. I'm putting on this fake smile, pretending everything's okay. So, which means I'm ashamed of parts of me. Because whenever we're playing a role, what is really behind that is shame. Because we don't want people to see us in a particular way because we feel like, okay, well, I'm not going to be rejected. This is how they see me. I'm better this way, and what I am right now isn't good enough, is what we're ultimately saying when, we're putting on a fake smile or we're trying to make someone feel better. It's really 99.9% of the time, when you get down to it, to the root cause, it's not about other people. It's about our own fear of being rejected. As a baby, you can't survive. So you need to abandon parts of you instead, so that your parents would love you, so that your tribe would accept you. And so we learned that, right? And, from way back when, like that all ancestral, that lineage, I don't want to say trauma, but just that pattern of adaptation. Like we survive in groups, right? So if your group doesn't like you, that's a problem. So instead of being rejected by the group, we reject ourselves. We reject parts of ourselves. The ego is really sneaky in these ways, and there's actually a video coming up soon about how there's the stories that don't make sense. It's like, okay, well, you gotta isolate, let's say, because when we feel like, it's not safe to open up, and we feel it's safer to be just put up these walls so I'm not vulnerable, so I'm not exposed. And the ego basically says things like, okay, I got to put up my walls and be alone so that I don't get rejected, so that I'm not alone. Or like, I have to worry right now so that I don't have to worry later. And you notice how you just still end up being worried. Like that's the ego just kind of has this dangling carrot. I'll be happy when, and somehow you never get there. It's just like, oh, the next and maybe the next one and next one, and you never get there. Just empty promises. So the invitation right now is to notice, where is it that you are faking it? Where are you faking in your life? And this is the release of this full moon. Our world is starved for authenticity. Your authenticity, your authentic expression, because it's not just for you. When you're standing in that, you're giving permission to others to do the same. And so, where is it that you're not standing in that? Where is it that you have some shame to work through? Where is it that you have some fears, lack of boundaries to work through? Some forgiveness, some self-forgiveness to move past, because either you own it or it owns you. And how much longer are you willing to allow it to own you? Carl Jung has this beautiful quote that is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. How much longer are you willing to let those things, those patterns, those stories that you're too scared to look at, to own you, to direct your life, for your inner critic to manipulate you? We talk about free choice, but when you're afraid, like when you're going up against around close to a wall and you're afraid of that wall, like, and you're moving away from it, that's not free choice. We're manipulated by our fears. And it's until we're willing to witness it, to bring it to awareness, that we can finally be free. The reason so many of us are having trouble being present is because when you're present, your stuff comes out. The things that you've repressed, the things that weren't metabolized, digested, like those emotions that weren't digested and processed, they come up in the present moment. This is why the mind is so terrified of being here and now, right? When we try to sit still, the mind just wanders. That's why so many people have trouble meditating. It's like, oh, my mind just races, because it doesn't feel safe to be here in the body. It doesn't feel safe to be here and now. And why is that? And this is the invitation of this full moon. Why is that? How much longer are you going to run? And where are you trying to get to? Because you can't run away from you. So, first of all, free resource down below that, such a transformational practice, the dropping away of all the masks. Again, that's just my gift to you. Check it out, because it was really transformational in my own journey. And this is why I decided to make it an offer right here. And if you want one-on-one support, this is what I do with people that I work with closely, to support you on your individual path in a 3 or 6 month container. And I will have availability again starting June. So, writing out, this is just great because a different part of your brain gets activated when you write with your hand. Writing out, which parts of myself have I been hiding? Which parts of myself have I been neglecting? And which parts of myself have I not allowed to express fully? Because behind that shame, behind the fears, behind the insecurities, there's like a part of you that's just screaming to come out. The personal expression, that true joy that's like underneath the pile of, well, a pile of, like all the things that are holding you down, like all that weight, all the things that feel icky, that you don't want to look at, that you don't want to process. Underneath all of that is this light that's like, oh my God, free me. Like that freedom of expression. So many people that I work with, the throat is blocked. It's not safe to speak our truth. It's not safe to express yourself. It's not safe to go into, wait, what do I want? And definitely not speaking it to somebody else or asking for what you want. Free of attachment. That's a little thing that we also learn how to do, because we feel the fear of being rejected. So underneath all these fears is your true freedom. Are you willing to open up to that? So answering those questions, this is the invitation of the fullness of this moon. what are you just ready to release? Like, "Ugh, I'm tired of carrying this fullness," because you deserve to be free. You deserve to be truly happy. You deserve to wake up freaking excited for your day every single day because that's your natural state. Are you willing to come back to your source? Many blessings.